Live.
All right, everyone who's missed
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed Factory.
Why relate to his cheer perversity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
And this is Conlon.
And we're back after a short hiatus. Not as long as I thought. Of course, broadcasting out Sunday night. Just saying that because the whole vibe of the show is going to change.
It's all for God now.
Yeah, it's Jesus. Yeah, so that's it. We're back for a little bit. Might be going to this format for a while. I don't know. I hear those promises and then they change. So. Let's see. As many of you know from the last podcast, I started my new plant. I've been my second week. That's an interesting little journey. It's weird when you go to a place, get out in the parking lot, and then get on a bus, and then get driven to another place to start work. that's kind of unique. I don't know if I'm sure there's other places that do that, but it's the first time I've experienced it.
I only have a thing where I have to drive to a parking lot, then hop on a bus to go to school.
Oh yeah, you have school bus.
Yeah, so I have to go to commuter parking and then hop on the bus.
Yeah,
so it can take me to. Yeah, I just sent you a link just to distract the beginning of the show. Like, what the fuck are they watching?
Oh, the
Star Wars True Detective Season 1 credits mashup.
Okay, that looked pretty good from what I saw. I had to think a little bit. It's like that's the Death Star tunnel. But yeah, so you go to school via bus.
Yeah.
And I go to work now via bus.
Isn't that how? Isn't that the thing about Area 51? Like those people. Because it has its own airport, so like the people park at a parking lot like miles away, and then they get flown into Area 51 to work there.
That's exactly what it's like. Well, I mean, there's nothing secret. Well, I don't know, maybe there is, but they never told me anything secret was going on. The only secret to me is how the overtime code works, because they put up these things that say everyone's working Saturday, 100% Saturday. Last Saturday, they told me, well, you didn't make the list, Nathan. I was like, okay, I'm brand new, whatever. I'll take the weekend off. I got a new car anyway. I'll enjoy that. This Saturday, I show up. You're not supposed to be here. I'm like, look, okay. Well, you're supposed to go walk around this thing that's miles away from your workstation and check for your name. I said, yeah. I walked down there. You know what I saw? It said that on the B crew, which is the crew I work, we had to draft 115 people who did not volunteer to work. Now, I volunteered to work. So therefore I should be here. Your name's not on the list. It's like that. Well, I don't want any problems. I'll go home, but you know, oh well, no, yeah, I think we can find something for you to do. It's like it's crazy. But that's what happens when you go from a place that, like I was talking to one of the older ladies this week, and they employed 500 people, and then they hired 1,500 in January. So that's a pretty big increase in your plant population. So things are not going to be normal, I guess. But so anyway, I worked my first Saturday in a long time. This is a little bit longer to get to work, so now I'm doing 28 minutes or 28 miles each way. So
okay,
I'm dedicating an hour to driving back and forth to work, but I was doing 22 minutes before.
Get those audiobooks in,
yeah,
or just podcast.
Yeah, well, I've got me a sweet car now.
Yeah.
I actually have a car that's made for the 21st century. Got me a Fusion SE all-wheel drive with a luxury package. It's not quite a titanium. There's only 2 or 3 things that make it different from a titanium, but it's a pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Who needs that ball scratcher anyways?
Yeah. Well, the thing that's what's different. What does it not have? Mine doesn't have the blind spot identification system. It doesn't have the lane departure warning. And it doesn't have a moonroof. That's the only difference. And I don't have the satellite navigation built into the car, which is kind of weird. You don't need that anymore because I can actually plug my phone in and it will display my phone on the screen. So it's like, well, yeah, I guess I've saved $7,000.
Do you got that rear view camera with like a heads up display to aim your car? Okay.
Oh yeah. It beeps. It warns you. It tells you. It shows you not only where you are but where you're gonna be. Yeah, it's pretty astounding car. I mean, it's very quiet.
Yeah.
Has a nice stereo system in it. It's all leather. Florida, like Florida. Well, I don't know. Everything's leather but the ceiling. The ceiling is not leather.
Is it black leather or like a tan
black?
Black.
Ah. I only go with black.
Is that like just death in the summertime? You just sit there like I'm like a hot dog on a grill at a gas station.
Well, I'm gonna get one of those things you put in the windshield.
Oh, the visor things.
Yeah, but see, my car, if I walk up to it, I didn't get the remote start because they wanted an extra $500 or whatever. And I was like, well, what? How much?
$500 to be lazy? I might have to consider this.
Yeah. Well, how much are we charging me for the car? But anyway, there's this thing where if I press the unlock button, it unlocks the car, and then if I hold the unlock button, all the windows shoot down. So if it's like really, really hot, it's but like I said, now I work nights and I'm mostly out and my car's garaged at home, so
okay.
I don't see it being a big issue. I mean, I've only got it for 2 years, so it's just a lease. Because I would never spend that much money on a car. It's a really expensive. I mean, for me, it's an expensive car, but it makes those trips down the freeway because I'm all freeway.
Yeah,
makes those trips down the freeway nice. It comes with the satellite radio, that's changed a lot since I got rid of it. There's a lot of new channels and new stuff, and now the amazing thing that just blows my mind about this car is the engine and the drivetrain. That's where you really notice it, because it's the all-wheel drive with the 2.2 liter. It's the one where the exhaust comes through the bumper. Have you ever seen that yet? Yeah. That's how you know it's fancy when it does that. And car is like 250 horsepower, but like 270 some foot-pounds of torque. And it's one of those turbo-driven ones. That they call it the EcoBoost, which is it's like the twin-spooled turbocharger, so it has a low range and a high range. And yeah, it's some interesting power for a car like that. You hit the gas and you're going 100 miles an hour for you.
All-wheel drive has great launch ability.
Yes, it does.
So I always like driving all-wheel drive cars in simulation racing games.
Yeah,
because you just hold down the gas, and as soon as that light goes green, you just jump off the line because you have all four tires grabbing at the ground.
Yeah, it has the Formula One paddle shifters in it. Everyone does that once.
Yeah.
Can't see that I would do that a lot. You can very quickly get big tickets with a car like that. It's when the maximum you can go is 70, and you can just leap to 100 miles an hour, and it's a 4-cylinder and a 2-liter 4-cylinder on top of that. That's pretty impressive. Now the mileage sucks. That's the downfall. But
it's comparable with a bigger car, right?
Yeah. Well, if you get your foot in it, you get about 21 to 24 miles to the gallon. If you drive like I do, the computer says I'm getting almost 30, where I just kind of set the cruise control and hover in the middle lane. Yeah. But if you really want to do some combat driving, yeah, you're gonna get 20 miles to the gallon. I mean, that's just how turbos work. They use more fuel. It's like power if you need it, but it's not always sucking that fuel down.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like Mad Max's shutdown blower. Yeah. Which never existed, but yeah, it's there if you need it. But it'll surprise you if you're out fucking around. Like, oh wow, this thing's really. They say it's probably the best car in its segment, that's the most competitive segment. They say it compares very
Fighting the
favorably.
Camry.
No, it's a Honda Accord. The Camry's like fourth
Okay.
place now. Nobody likes the Camry anymore because they've made it the same thing for so long.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. But it's they say it's up there with the other cars. And it's just a nice car. It's a nice ride.
Yeah.
It's got the elaborate touch sync package. Not the more stripped down one. So I'm using it a lot, but I don't feel like I'm using it to its potential. Like I probably could refine my use of it a little
you
more.
don't trust the voice control enough. Well, you did send me a text right from your car, didn't you?
Yeah. I do a lot of the phone stuff I do through text, but
Not like while you're driving, like you did a voice and you okayed it and sent the message, right?
yeah, while I was driving. Yeah.
Yeah, but you weren't like
Like no, it wasn't wasn't thumbs up like car drive. Okay. Oh wait, it doesn't do that shit. No, I just verbally said it, and it sends it, but then it sends an unnecessarily long, like, yes, I will meet you there. This voice sent by Sync SMX Ford Sync text service. Like, why does it include that in the text message? That's like,
it's advertising its own service. Like,
yeah,
I want that advertisement out of you, motherfucker.
It's like sent by my Ford Touch.
It's like when you put a song in a YouTube video, and then all of a sudden, like you have advertisements on your video, but none of the money goes to you.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, but as long as people understand what's going on,
yeah,
I guess
it's a feature. It's
yeah. Now, what I don't do is I don't do a lot of the climate. Like the climate's fully voice controlled if you want it to be. But you'll say things like turn fan down and it just goes down one notch. But sometimes it's nice if you get in and if, like you said, if it's burning hot, you just press the button, you say max AC, and you're getting your face blown off. It's like, so that's pretty cool. But
I just recently learned how to set reminders with my Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Where you just use the voice control and you just say set reminder and it pops up with a thing. You can tell it what to do. Because I don't know how to do that like normally or through an app or anything. You just
say it.
You just do it through the voice control, and it's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, it's like I said. I'm sure with this system, I'll eventually learn how to use it more efficiently. I'll probably have it mastered by it's time to turn the car in. But
well, their next one will have it too. So
yeah, maybe, I don't know. Depends on what the lease options are.
Yeah,
because I know that like like a lot of people, I wasn't too happy that the car is made in Mexico, but we Stacy was out doing the research on the leases, and they weren't offering any favorable leases on, I mean, cars that were in a lower class and without as many features they wanted more money for. So it's like, well, okay, this is what we got to go with then. So, and some of those cars you couldn't get as many miles on. Thing is, I like to, if I'm going to lease something, I'm going to buy a lot of miles so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like that car sitting in the driveway like, hey, was car not running? Nope, out of miles. Like, oh, how much longer you got to go? 6 months. Oh.
Especially if you got like an hour drive every day.
Yeah.
Because I do that for school, and you really rack up the miles.
Oh yeah. Well, I do. I base it on 60 miles a day, 5 days a week. That's 200. But I got 20,000 miles a year, so just driving back and forth to work will be like 12,000 some miles a year.
Yeah.
So then I have 8,000 some miles to play with, which that's pretty good. Like I said, I certainly wouldn't want to buy and pay for maintenance on a car like that. So, because that's what I look at when I look at cars nowadays. I don't just look at like these are cool features, but I also look at what happens if these features fail. It's like that's an amazing thing, but how much am I going to be in the how much am I going to have my tit in a ringer for if A, B, or C goes wrong?
Well, that's why like sometimes you go to dealerships and you're like, there's that car that's only been used for like 2 years, and you just sit there and like, why did they give up? And it's like there's got to be something circulating along with the car, and then it's like half the time it's just like, no, these people just never want to deal with maintenance, so they turn the car in every 2 years and get a new one.
Pretty much. That's pretty much the boat I'm going to be in. Well, it's just like with the Focus, it just started eating me alive with and not that it was a bad car at all, but it was just an old car, and it was just starting to have its problems. And when you're looking at long travel, especially in the Michigan winters, you got to have something reliable.
Yeah, that's always like the thing that sucks, is because right when you finish paying that car off and they have that freedom of like, oh, all that extra $300 a month that I just have at my disposal, then all of a sudden, bam, $2,000 repair bill.
Yeah. And I think they do it that way on purpose. I think that's designed into it. It's like
planned obsolescence. It's been a part of automotive industry for back in Nader's day.
Well, I'll tell you some interesting things I learned from work. I don't know how much of this stuff I should talk about, but fuck.
All right, let's not.
Well, it's kind of an interesting thing, but I'll skip that because there's a lot of shit going on with it, right? Not that anyone cares or listens to what I say, but I wouldn't want it to someone to be like, hey, I heard that shit you were saying. So did so and so.
But yeah, new Fusion. Catch it.
New Fusion. Go buy one.
I got an old one. I like it.
Yeah, they're nice cars.
It's a surprisingly roomy car. It gets decent gas mileage. The only thing that sucks about it is like the trunk has kind of a weird, like it's a big trunk, but it's a weird entrance to the trunk. So it's kind of like short. So you can't just cram everything in there that you want to. But
yeah. Did you have the one with the ledges where it ices up, and sometimes you open it and a bunch of snow falls in the trunk?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, Stacy's was real bad for that. She still has one. Actually, all three of us now have Fusions. But
I got it the second year it came out, so I was still like the test bed for that thing.
Yeah, you've got the first generation. Stacy has the second, and I have the third, and the fourth's coming out next year.
Because that was like one of those European cars where like they had no faith in it. It's like, I guess we'll just put it out here, see what the fuck happens.
Yeah, the Mondeo. Mondeo.
Bond drove one of those, I think, in Casino Royale, didn't he?
I thought it was an Aston Martin, but
no, it was like something where he drove to a hotel and like Ford paid like $1 million to get say, hey, put this advertised Bond driving to the hotel and then getting his Aston Martin.
Yeah, well, Ford's had a lot of sponsorship with Bond movies over the years.
That in 24, I remember 24 went back and forth. It's like it's either Chevy would sponsor it one year or be Ford the next year, and it's like you always could figure out like, is Jack Bauer driving? If whatever Jack Bauer's driving, that's the hero vehicles, and then the competitor is the villain vehicles.
Well, and the most ridiculous one for that was Fringe. Like everything, they even put cars in Fringe, like when the new generation Fords were coming out a couple years ago. Remember, they had those in the alternate universe, but not in our universe because they weren't out yet here. So people were driving new Fusions and Focuses, but in the alternate universe, not in our universe. And then of course, after the ratings fell so low, Ford wasn't interested. So then it was Nissan. So then the FBI was driving Armada SUVs and things they would never drive. It's like, wow, that's funny.
That was a show I still haven't watched the last season. It's like that and True Blood, where it's like I almost don't want to watch it, just because like it was like, because it wasn't like the last season I watched was the best season, but I remember still like having hopes for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear too great things about the last season of either of those shows.
Well, True Blood, I've never watched one episode. I don't know anything about it, but yeah, Fringe, it got so weird. They ran out of stuff.
Yeah. They
just painted themselves into a huge lost corner. It's like, how does this all connect? Oh, in this really weird time travel-y fucked up way. And well, how are we gonna pay this off? We're gonna fight in the future to save ourselves from the past.
Just like X-Files.
Yeah.
Fight the future.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did have that motto. But yeah, that was well, X-Files was another one. That was the first one of paint yourself into the giant corner. But they did it with style.
Was that Twin Peaks? Wasn't that the ultimate paint yourself?
No, Twin Peaks was called running out of gas. Twin Peaks was like the tank is empty. We have no more ideas. After we have the reverse talking midgets.
Well, no, I think they could have more ideas. They just didn't mean they were just. Everything was meaningless at some point.
Yeah. You're just throwing shit at a wall. sticks.
If you don't provide clarification or a framework, then this is obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty it was pretty insane. But yeah, that was
But
X-Files did that really good.
their Netflix just have the last season of Doctor Who just went up, so I get to watch Peter Capaldi.
Oh, okay.
Because I haven't seen any of those ones yet.
Oh, well, good.
So I have to get back to you about that one.
Yeah, I've seen 5 of the Peter Capaldi ones. And then it disappears. I don't know why, but there's a lot of... Well, it's like you sent me with... it's like Mr. Robot, that I like it, but I'm not going to do that fast forward lockout for a whole season. Because the thing is, like, because I would try to watch it on demand. Well, they got the fast forward locked out, which is bullshit for as much as they charge me for cable. And they show the same commercials over and over and over. They don't. It's not like you're watching on TV where it's like, well, at least there's different shit I don't want to watch. It's the same commercial over and over again, and it's like I just can't do this. This is like torture.
I was kind of going through. I was watching Hannibal season 3, and because I didn't want to pay anything, because I've seen the first 2 seasons from Prime, and then the latest one you can just see on NBC. And they had a song, like I don't know if it was in a commercial or if it's in the show. It seems right for the show, but I can't fucking find it. I searched the internet. They don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I'm trying to scan through these episodes, but doing that, you have to go through like, oh, you tried to skip past 3 commercial breaks, so now you're gonna have to watch 6 fucking commercials to get to that spot where you want. And
it's insane.
I mean, in this purpose. This is bad for me, but yeah. So I can't even. It's like a song. It's kind of an alternative, kind of moody song that kind of sounds like "When the Levee Breaks," and then the chorus of it is just kind of "and we kill, 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 na 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 na," something like that. And I try to put that in the internet, and it just explodes. It doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It just brings up with like heavy metal lyrics where just kill is repeated 8,000 times in a row.
You asked for Nordic death rock. Dark metal. It's like, no, it's kind of a poppy alt song about killing. No. So yeah, I'm sort of fucked on my thing. And then I talked to a guy from DirecTV. It's like they're making crazy offers. But then again, you look into their server, because I asked the guy, it's like, so what happens when it rains? I don't have TV. He's like, no, they fixed that. And it's like they have better on demand and better DVR and all that, but their on demand is so slow because you're sending a signal back and forth between a satellite and not a hard line, that it's like, yeah, it's a lot cheaper than my cable, but I don't know that. And plus, around here, they don't have the bandwidth cap around here. They tried it and it failed because people were like, well, I would just rather steal from you. Deal with that. So, but they have it. So like if I switched over and just had internet through them, then they'd slap the old bandwidth cap on you. So I hear that's failing though, that they're passing laws against it in some states. Like you can't do that, or I don't know.
There's no reason it should be here in Iowa. I can understand California because there's so many people there and
there's pirating everything.
Yeah, heavy internet usage. Like I can almost understand it there. But yeah, because like they say like there's so many people that use the internet and they barely use, there's like, because that's the thing, like the what they're getting on is these people that download like 800 gigabytes worth of shit like a week. Because they're just stealing like entire seasons of DVD quality stuff off the internet and ripping it to a DVD.
Oh, the old Game of Thrones guys. Got season 5 in HD yesterday. I do not know of anyone who pays for Game of Thrones. That has to be the most stolen thing, except for me.
It is. It's the most. It is the most illegally downloaded show in history. And they don't really crack down on it because people
have it on thumb drives at work. Like I want to watch. I got season 1 through 5 on this chink. It's like I didn't know it came in that format. Oh well, you just go this website and it's like, oh okay. It's like, where do you get the Game of Thrones thumb drive? It's like, what the fuck are you doing? So they just don't care. That's just like, well, any publicity is good publicity.
Pretty much.
Okay,
It's like,
well.
well, like think about it. Like, how big is that show? It's kind of like the biggest show. It's like it's got to be, but like it doesn't get like anything like CSI ratings. Like the worst episode of CSI gets better ratings than that.
Yeah.
And like, but is anybody talking about fucking CSI? No.
No. Everyone's talking about medieval gang rape. Well, everyone who's cool.
That's Star's new series. They're trying to compete with.
They just call it medieval gang rape. This guy's got a helmet in the shape of a giant phallus and a cock sword. They play the same music. People screwing in armor and disemboweling each other. They should do Game of Thrones in the spirit of the Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. but play it serious. But that's the thing. Oh, speaking of movies, boy, Fantastic Four.
Yes, Fantastic Floor.
yeah, exactly. It hit the ground with a solid thump. Holy shit! It's like 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. That means
it went down. Damn, I saw it when it was at 9, and then it went to 10, and now it's at 4.
Well, let me make sure.
The bandwagon really piled on there.
Let me make sure. Okay, now we're back up to 8. It was like 4 at one time. You said I got up to 10.
Yeah. Well, I've always seen one positive review, and it was like from supposedly a credible source, or at least a magazine or some sort of online component of a magazine. But you read the review and it's just like complete nonsense. It's like one of those like, this was great because it's awful like reviews. But
oh, this is aversely bad. Yeah, the director has already come out and said the studio made me make it this way. If I'd have done it my way, it would have been much better. Which was like, oh, you mean that 10 minutes you cut out of this? That would have sewn it all together. And the thing is, this is the guy who did Chronicle.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of like hoping, like, wow, that it might be okay.
Yeah, because that's a really good movie, and that's basically a superhero movie. So,
yeah, it's like maybe he'll get but that seems to be a cursed. The Fantastic Four is like what's the play the Shakespeare, like the Macbeth of comic book movies. It's like this has never worked.
Well, it worked for that one producer when they got Roger Corman to make a $4 million version of Fantastic Four just so they could keep the rights to it.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that story?
I think you told me this before, but let's refresh us being we're in Fantastic Four mode.
Okay,
again.
so the way this works is like you have somebody bought the movie rights for Fantastic Four, and they work for Fox or whatever, or they have a distribution deal with Fox. So they didn't make a Fantastic Four movie for like 8 years or something. So the rights for the movies are about to run out, because if they don't use it, then it goes back to the original author or whoever is holding that. In this case, would be Marvel.
So it's just a rights reversal issue.
Yeah. Okay. So the producer got together, Roger Corman, and was like, what is the cheapest Fantastic Four movie we can make? And Roger Corman, he got all his guys together. It's like, hey guys, we got $4 million to make a movie. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, just like
it's Christmas.
Yeah.
So like they threw all they could at this, and they made it was terrible, but like, they got to do special effects that they never could before because they had money for special effects, and like they did all this stuff, and like it's just a horrible movie that was thrown together, but there's enthusiasm behind it. Yeah,
I'm seeing a trailer right now. It's like there's a lot of hope here, but yeah, this is a really bad movie.
Because like they're making they're trying to use like 70s technology to make a movie in like late 90s, and it's so yeah. So it was never released, or I think it was released in one theater just to say like, hey, we made the movie, now we get to take this and go sell it to Fox again or some shit like that. And that's eventually what they did to make the first Fantastic Four movie like 10 years ago or whatever when they made it.
That's funny. Yeah, it's 94. That's hilarious.
But yeah, like I remember the first Fantastic Four movie wasn't great, but there's like it had a good cast.
Yeah.
I remember I was like really kind of hyped for it because the trailer for that first movie, it was like the first time that Counting Bodies Like Sheep to a Rhythm of War Drum song came out, so they used that in their trailer, so it made it look way more awesome than it was actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it had this dark dissonant music. It's like, oh, this is a new direction. It's like, no.
It was just a stupid comic movie. I never watched the second one, The Rise of the Silver Surfer, but I actually hear that it's really good if you like the Fantastic Four in the comic book. I hear it's like the most like authentic Fantastic Four movie that's out there, but nobody saw it because somebody gave a shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody watched because it wasn't worth. Yeah, it wasn't worth the time. But yeah, that's definitely gonna be remembered as a curse. I think they might be done with it. I think after they lose a couple $100 million this time, they might be like, let's just let this lie.
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah, I hear there's always like hopeful internet things coming up, and it's like, I hope they sell it back to Marvel.
Yeah, so they'll go lose $100 million to make this movie work.
I don't. There's something about the Fantastic Four that I just don't give a shit about. It's like, I don't know. It always kind of seems too dopey.
Yeah, it's like the silly superpowers. It's like the X-Men. Like that's cool in a way. Like they're presented in a way of like, oh, that's completely impossible. But if it was, it might look like this. Or like Wolverine is a very believable. It's like, well, if a guy was, couldn't be wounded very long and live forever, he might be like this, or he might be this badass. Or if a woman could change her, to reflect whatever she wanted to look like, that might. See, the X-Men is really goofy too, but it's handled in such a way where it's dead serious.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they make it a play on AIDS or homosexuality or whatever. It's like, well, you got the in group and the out group, and the out group's different. And but the Fantastic Four, it's almost silly. Like it's not. It's like, oh, one guy can stretch, one guy looks like a giant pile of shit. Someone can turn invisible, and I forget what the other. It's like
you can turn off. You can turn into a fire. And
you can turn into fire. That's like, oh, great.
Well, I mean, the Thing is an interesting character because he's basically the Hulk, but he's a person who's like sensitive and everything. And he has a blind girlfriend because that's the only way he can like, because he always is too self-conscious about himself being ugly ever since he got turned into the Thing.
Yeah.
So that's like the only interesting thing about the Fantastic Four. Like a scientist who can stretch, like who gives a fuck? A woman who can turn invisible. It's like there's probably some interesting like political thing there. It's like women are invisible anyways. Or so.
Yeah. This is how I feel in a man's world. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
And then
they disappeared.
And then the Human Torch is like, there's interesting things you can do there, but like it's not inherently interesting.
It's just never. It's something about this never clicked. I think it's really clicked in the comic book venue, but I mean, they've been to the trough how many times with this, and it just doesn't work. So.
Well, I mean, this is the weird one because it seemed I haven't seen it, but it looks like they're trying to do a gritty reboot with it, and like this is an inherently silly universe, but you're gonna keep all the same aspects, but just make it like more real and dirty. It's like now this is just stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reviews. It says like an unnecessarily dark and cruel movie with no
Wow.
heart.
Yeah, I heard one like review is like saying like it actually has patience. Like it tries to build this whole thing. So he's like, it's like a movie that never lives up to its build and doesn't have enough action to justify its existence.
Yeah, it's a somber action movie. But then again, I haven't seen it, so
Yeah, I'm not going to. So
you neither am I. But a movie I did see because Grayson really wanted to see it was Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, which was bumped from December to August because no one wants to go head to head with Star Wars because that's a losing game no matter how many Tom Cruises you have. So it was a good movie, really good movie. But Ghost Protocol Ghost Protocol is the gold standard now of all the Mission Impossible. Like everyone tries to compare. It's like, well, it's not quite Ghost Protocol, but it's pretty damn good.
I still love 3. That's like the redheaded stepchild of them. It's like everyone kind of forgets about 3. It's like 3 was fucked up and like weird and
dark
and had fucking a fat guy as the bad guy. What's his name?
One of my favorite actors.
Yeah. God damn it.
The guy just died recently.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'm gonna find someone you love, and I'm gonna hurt him. I'm gonna hurt him real bad. Because the villain wasn't like physically intimidating at all.
Yeah.
Until like he put micro explosives in your brain, and that's pretty fucked up. But,
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was like because I hated 2. God damn, because like 2 was like okay, like Mission Impossible is cool. John Woo, it's like fuck it, how could it not be amazing? And it was just a horrible piece of shit that made shit tons of money.
Yeah,
and it was another one of those weird Anthony Hopkins paycheck movies. Like, why is he in this movie?
Right. Yeah, he was in that. I'm here to talk grimly and walk.
And I remember like I that was one of those times where like even like I hated the movie so much I got in those things where like it was like I started to like dissect the logic of the movie because there is none. There's like some point where where Tom Cruise impersonates a guy, he puts the face on, and then like he walks out of a place and you realize like, oh no, there's Tom Cruise the whole time. But then you realize Tom Cruise is like 5'0". The guy he's impersonating is like 6'6". There's no way he impersonated that guy. And they fucking joust with motorcycles, which
yeah, Mission Impossible 2 was the one where they were constantly using the masks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I couldn't believe that franchise has been around almost 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. Because they said that in the...
Well, remember, he's a producer on that. Like, he owns that franchise.
Oh, yeah.
But it is surprising, like, kind of how different they've become so far. Because like he's almost like the only through line. Like those movies are almost completely different from each other.
Yeah, him and Ving Rhames are the only people that have appeared in all the movies from the first to the last.
Yeah. Well, it killed off everybody in the first one.
Yeah, everyone died. Yeah, that's true. Everyone died in the first one.
Like the first 5 minutes. Because that was like the first 5 minutes is like, hey, let's see how many names we can put on the trailer. It's like Emilio Estevez. So he's like, like that half a second he looks up and gets stabbed in the face is like his entire thing in the trailer. You just see him looking up before he gets stabbed in the face for no good reason.
It's like his last acting role too, I think.
Before he became a TV director.
Yeah.
And he directed that Bobby movie.
Oh, that's right. I remember that one.
Yeah, so how's Rogue Nation?
Oh, it's really good. I mean, it has let's see, it's got everyone. Jeremy Renner, who he does some things, not a lot. Simon Pegg actually has more of a role in this, just the special weapons guy. There's a lot of funny scenes with him, and Alec Baldwin does a good job. He's the new director of the CIA.
Okay,
yeah, but he actually is in a lot of scenes.
I actually hear like the cast is pretty pared down. Like the movie's not necessarily as large a character cast as you think it would be, or something like that.
Oh no. Well, there's one kind of love interest. That's that British lady. Rebecca something. But yeah, she's the what's her name? She plays Ilsa Faust, but she works for MI6. And but yeah, essentially the movie, there's some secret thing called the Syndicate that the British government created is like an army of assassins and terrorists that they would unleash in the world. And the guy who took it over is just he's using the Syndicate to do those things without being activated. And it's Ethan Hunt is trying to stop him, and it's but it's a lot of those feints and dodges and near misses, and it's like, who's gonna mind fuck who and to believe in what? There's always that, but it was really good.
At some point, there's an elaborate tech heist.
Yes, this one's got the crazy underwater computer where you got to hold your breath and swim around in some kind of giant torus where there's robot arms picking chips in and out of something, and there's a lot of crazy shit going on.
It's nice to see Christopher McQuarrie continue to get some directing work and be successful finally. Yeah. I think Jack Reacher was successful, but I don't think it was successful they wanted to be, but I don't think it was that expensive either.
No.
But I think they're going to make more of those. But,
yes. Well, that was one of those things that was really successful on like video and after the fact.
Okay.
So people are like, hey, this is cool. So I think there was a lot of I hate Tom Cruise momentum.
Yeah.
When the movie came out, which I always think is stupid because I enjoy Tom Cruise movies. I don't embrace his politics or his religion, but I don't have to enjoy his movies. Yeah, he's not my neighbor or a buddy of mine. It's like I'm just entertained. It doesn't. I mean, if he's out there like slaughtering puppies on camera with a knife, yeah, I'm probably not going to give the guy any money. But if he wants to believe weird and improbable things about how the universe works, how is he different from anyone else who's super religious? So. Yeah, it's like, okay, whatever. He's not trying to change policies or something. So
he seems to be like a fairly nice person, and he seems to have a very intense work ethic that I can appreciate. So
yeah, he has an insane work ethic, and he doesn't understand fear. Apparently, I'm going to hang off the side of this airplane. We're going to try this. They actually have trouble insuring these movies.
Yeah, because he has all.
Because if he dies, it's like. What the hell's the movie gonna be?
Yeah.
But
and he's like 53, so it was like
yeah. That's the thing. I did hear some of the weirdest criticism I heard in this movie is like Tom Cruise looks old. It's like, yeah, he's in middle age. You don't think of that because we all remember Top Gun, but yeah, he really essentially hasn't aged, but he has. Nobody lives forever, no matter how much they will. Who's the founder of his religion to keep him alive?
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, no matter how much they pray to L. Ron Hubbard, people get old and die. So, but I didn't think he looked. He doesn't look like a guy in his 50s either.
No, fuck no.
So, yeah, he looks like a guy in his late 30s. Still one of my favorite movies of his was Edge of Tomorrow, but
yeah,
that's like the crazy Tom Cruise. The like, fuck it, let's just do the story. But yeah, anyway, this was a really good movie. Kind of a surprise. Liked it more than I thought I would.
Low expectations, high reward.
Not low expectations, but just kind of similar. Like Ghost Protocol was a great movie.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, this was out awful quick. It seems like just yesterday we were watching Ghost Protocol. Where's this going to go? Oh, this is pretty good. As one of the best motorcycle chase scenes I've ever seen on film.
Huh.
That's a real high point of the movie. One of the high points. It's real gritty, dangerous motorcycle chase. And everything in this movie seems very dangerous. Like a lot of the Mission Impossible movies did. But this one especially, it's like, oh yeah, life or death is just right there. You can touch it. So yeah, pleasantly surprised. And I think it's making a good deal of money.
Yeah. It's because Fantastic Four flopped. It's now #1 for two weeks in a row. So
yeah, well, Tom Cruise said on the Daily Show that they're making another one. So
oh yeah, that was the news that happened.
Oh yeah, Jon Stewart's last Daily Show.
Yeah,
I watched that. That was kind of poignant.
I didn't watch it. I just saw the one clip where Stephen Colbert comes on and makes him cry.
Yeah.
And then I read something to that where he said he said like, I'm gonna miss like giving book recommendations. I'm gonna recommend this book. The name of the author is my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty poignant. I didn't realize it's only been just a skosh over 15 years for the Daily Show. It's become such a huge institution. I thought it was longer than that.
Yep. He's like, I did the Bush presidency and the Obama presidency, and like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I did 4 terms. Like, I'm getting out.
Well, it's like my wife was asking me, and a lot of people was like, why is he leaving? And I said, yeah, try to do a television show every day. It's like 20 hours a day. To especially because of the quality of content they had.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do that if you're just playing to middle America and you're writing the same, fart jokes, every night. But it's really hard to do what he was doing, which was trying to have a point.
Yeah. And he did take that hiatus to go direct, and that kind of like laid some work for like, oh yeah, maybe he doesn't want to do this the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Rosewater, now available on demand.
I haven't seen that yet.
Me neither.
Everyone showed up, even Wyatt Cenac, but he showed up on the street scene. I don't know if you heard about the Marin Cenac, Jon Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something like Jon Stewart was doing his Uncle Tom voice, making fun of the guy who owns Godfather Pizza or something like that, and he didn't take kindly to that. And Jon Stewart was like, "Oh, fuck off!"
Well, they kind of wanted him. It sounded to me like they wanted him. It's like, hey, you're the one black dude here. Buy into this. It's like, I think that's a little Uncle Tommy. Fuck yourself or something like really angry shit.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, okay."
But I don't think Wyatt Cenac was like malicious. He's like, yeah, we just didn't
he just definitely was not like, fuck him, I hope he dies. But he was just like, yeah, he's a person like everyone else, and they under pressure like that, people are not nice. Sometimes that happens. But I was surprised because everyone was, that was the big question after that. It's like, are you really not going to be on the last episode? He's like, I don't know. I'm not looking for it.
So what was the last episode? Did they like pretend to try to do a normal show, or was it just a send-off show?
It was 61 minutes, so it was double.
Oh, okay.
And they basically, all the correspondents and everyone who ever worked on the show came back, and they all talked about different things. And it was pretty upbeat. I mean, everyone had like 30 seconds to do their thing, because Oliver came back for a little bit, and he was talking, and Jon Stewart was like, "We have to go to commercial," and John Oliver was like, "What the fuck's a commercial?" And then, of course, Colbert came back, and they had a lot of people,
The Kilborn show up for no good reason.
Huh?
The Kilborn show up for no good reason.
They kind of had a reel of people like telling him to fuck off, and Kilborn was on that. He was like, he was like in a robe somewhere drinking scotch, and he's like, "Well, glad to finally see you fucked up the Daily Show too," or something like that. And, yeah. But that's it was poignant. It's too bad he's leaving at this time, because this is looking like to be one of the most cartoonish election cycles we've ever seen. I mean, I don't know. Really, they've all been pretty embarrassing. But that happened. But I don't think he's done. He'll be back.
No, he'll direct something or whatever. Or he'll write a book, and then he'll be like on all the other talk shows being interviewed.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "This is weird."
Come let Jon Stewart make you look dumb on your show.
I'm sure he'll be a guest immediately when it's somewhere in September when Colbert takes over the Late Show.
Oh yeah. That should be good.
It just kind of seems weird to me, because like I've been slowly not watching Comedy Central for a really long time now, and like I haven't even been watching The Daily Show for like the past 8 years.
Oh, yeah?
Well, not 8 years, probably 5 years.
Yeah.
And so like I just have it's not like it's weird that Jon Stewart's leaving. It's now I have almost no connection with Comedy Central whatsoever.
Just South Park.
Yeah, just pretty much South Park.
South Park's their last big property.
Well, I never. Apparently, Workaholics is huge, but I just never got into it. Like I see episodes and I can see where they're funny, but I just never compelled to watch more of them.
Yeah.
And like Drunk History is like amazing, but like I don't like. It's not like a point of view for me. I hear, and like I've seen some of Inside Amy Schumer, and that's kind of genius, but I just don't sit down and watch. And same way with Key and Peele, you see clips of it, it's like this is awesome. I just don't watch it. I don't know why.
Yeah. Some of that stuff I think is either it's aimed for almost a younger audience or I don't know.
Well, I think it's not. I don't have a convenient like on demand presence for that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think I can get through cable. I can go through my on demand on my cable to watch it, but then you have to watch some commercials. And anytime I see a commercial pop up, I'm like, "Fuck this!" Like,
I'm out of here. Yeah, Key and Peele's done.
Yeah, this is going to be their last season.
I don't know why they wrapped up, but they're probably.
I think it's like I think they were just like, let's get out while it's still good, rather than drag it down and hate each other the rest of our lives. They said something like that's going to be like with Richard Pryor and what's his name, the guy who played Willy Wonka.
Oh, not Gene Hackman. What the hell's his name? Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder. They said like they're gonna have it be like that, where like every once in a while we'll show up in a movie rather than like like that's what's gonna happen.
Some people were saying it was the Chappelle effect.
There's some they're talking. There's some comparisons that they were talking about that with, but I think they're just I don't think it's anything nefarious. Otherwise, they would just like quit the show. There's like no, they just said like this is gonna be our last season. It's not like I don't think it was anything like they're being forced out. Or I don't think, and I'm pretty sure Comedy Central would probably like more of it just to run it through that commercial ringers. Because like their clips are like huge online, so
yeah,
you have to imagine that works pretty well towards their ratings.
Well, they are funny.
Or also, they have a show on Comedy Central. I watched some of it. It's a fucking weird show. It's called Broad City.
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it all yet, but what do you think of that?
It's just kind of weird. It's an interesting, like, different take because it's not like there's no punches being pulled whatsoever.
Yeah.
So like that's nice, but there's like this. That like half the time they're just kind of like con artists and they're living in New York City. They're not really con artists, but they just need to make a buck so they can go party.
Yeah.
Like the one girl, she doesn't have any kind of regular things. She's just constantly smoking weed. And there's one girl, she's like a janitor at a gym, but then like they didn't make side money, so I was doing these weird jobs. So it's almost like this weird alternative I Love Lucy thing kind of going on there. But like the alternative job they do is they find some guy in Craigslist where if he'll give them like thousands of dollars if they like clean his apartment in their underwear. so they do that, and the weird guy is Fred Armisen, who's like acting like a baby, and then like he pretends to not understand what money means, and then like they leave, break some shit, steal some things, and walk out of the apartment. And then like his phone, you hear a phone ringing, and the guy reaches into his diaper, and then he answers the phone, and he's just like a lawyer, and he's just talking normally. It's like, this is fucking weird.
He was one of those what do they call those, diaper men, or yeah, something weird.
But like
Hannibal Buress is on that show too, isn't he? Isn't he like a lawyer too or something, or
I think he's like a nurse or a doctor or something, or someone training to be a doctor. But okay. he's always kind of off to the side because he's one of the girls' boyfriend, I think, or occasional boyfriend, and
right.
And he just has this great like kind of nonchalance to him because he's not like especially being any kind of effective character. He just kind of like That was weird. That's gonna.
I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, he's kind of like he's just like Hannibal Buress.
Yeah.
He has his own show too. Yeah. Sort of funny.
But I just remember there was like that one point where it's like, where like MTV turned to shit and like Comedy Central kind of filled that gap.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what does. Now it's just the internet in general.
Yeah, it's you got to reach out a little bit. It's not as I don't know, it keeps rotating around.
But I did find a show. Well, I've heard about it, but I was like kind of suspect of it because it's a Cinemax show.
Yeah,
called Banshee.
Right.
And like I've heard good things, and it's like, why is Cinemax making a show? Like nobody's gonna fucking watch that shit. Because like Cinemax is like Showtime's like, or HBO is one of their like offhand channels. Like if you want to get the full premium cable package, we'll include Cinemax, and you can watch softcore porn in the middle of the night if you want to.
Right. Yeah, that's about all you're doing though.
And like during the day they have like action movies. It was like, it was like the way Spike advertises, like, like it's like TV for guys. Like that was kind of what Cinemax was. And then so like that's all I was expecting from the show. Like,
no love stories here.
Now the Banshee has plenty of action and sex going on to suffice those people that come there, but I was also just kind of, there's like an interesting thing underneath, and like great actors who you've never fucking seen before.
Right.
So it's this guy, he's a con artist, and he gets out of jail after 15 years or prison. And then he just goes to a bar, has sex with a lady, and then gets chased by some Russian mobster while a bus gets turned over and is like flying after him.
God.
And then like, he figures out where he's going, and he just, goes to this town called Banshee to look for his former,
the identity of a sheriff, right?
Yeah, he's just in a bar, and these guys try to rob the bar, and then like everybody ends up dying, and then like the new sheriff just came to town, so nobody knows who he is, and so the sheriff tries to be a hero, and he ends up getting killed, and the other guys get killed too, or the guy kills him. One of them like just shoving a beer down his throat, and the other guy like falls on like an anvil.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember something weird like that happened. It's like, how'd that guy die?
And then like the guy who owns the bar is like kind of this former con artist / boxer, and they're like, well, I don't want to have to deal with this shit. It's like, let's just go bury these bodies. And then the sheriff's phone rings, and he picks up the phone, and then like it's like the mayor of the town like translate. It's like, hey, I just want to welcome you to Banshee, and like and then he decides like, I'm just gonna assume the identity of the sheriff because like my ex-girlfriend / con artist buddy / person I went to jail for / that kid is mine.
Yeah. Well, there's also the Russian mob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so I mean that's just the first episode. So
yeah,
it gets pretty good. That guy, that one guy, the mobster in town, who's like former Amish, like that guy is pretty good. Just like everything he does, he's just crazy and weirdly.
Yeah, that's the kind of the Twin Peaks-ish aspect of this show is it takes place in the middle of like the, what do you call that, Pennsylvania Dutch country or something.
Yeah,
a lot of Amish people running around.
Yeah,
and there's murder and jewel thieves and con men and Russian gangsters, and it's like, well, this is a weird mix. Yeah. And then there's an Amish mob guy too. So.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. That's the writing doesn't hold up all the time, but usually the actors are pretty well. Like I think there's a biker gang episode, like I think around 3 or 4, that's pretty bad. But you just kind of like when you can binge watch these episodes, like it just smooths it over. So,
oh, okay. Yeah, so don't watch it one episode at a time, taking it in too deeply, and be like, "Oh, screw this show! I'm tapping out."
They have plenty of sex, and then plenty of violence.
You can see the Cinemax origins in the sex.
Yeah,
a lot of people being held against walls and bent over things. Just lots of like, wow, does anyone lube up first? Or are we just going for this? So I see very little resembling foreplay here.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was unexpected, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, kind of a darkly violent show, though.
Oh yeah.
Like it's kind of like almost No Country for Men-esque, and it's like there will be an explosion of sudden violence, and maybe or maybe not a character will die.
I don't know.
A lot of explosions or a lot of explosive violence out in Pennsylvania countryside.
Like I said, well, there's not too many surprising deaths. There is one kind of surprising death at the end where it's like, oh yeah, this character, like, oh yeah, they weren't using him, so this is just convenient to kill him off.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was surprising, but it's like someone's gonna die, but still it happens, and you're like, wow, it's a very. I've only watched one episode, so
yeah. Well, I'm trying. Right now, I'm just like, as you say that, I'm like, well, everyone kind of survives, but people really get the shit beat out of them and survive.
Yeah, they're walking with a limp, but they survived. I think our thing did our connection just lock up? Oh, this is always that empty moment in podcasting when you lose your connection.
Sorry.
Oh, we're back. Yeah. I was talking to myself about how the emptiest moments in podcasting are when you lose, because you just froze with your mouth open. Like, I was like, well, I don't think he's holding that expression for 30 seconds. So something must have froze up.
Yeah, I was just saying the main character takes a beating a lot, and you're surprised how much he survives, and just comes back to that next episode. Look, okay.
The little cut over his eye. It's like, the guy just broke both his hands beating the shit out of you. Well, yeah. This is Captain Ron. It's like, I believe in Jesus, and that helps.
Well, there's this one, I think it's the second episode maybe, where they're trying to bring some attention to the town because there's like an Indian casino, and so they bring this fighter in, and and then that guy like rapes this girl, and then like the he goes there and he kind of consoles the victim, and then he goes to arrest the guy, and then he's like a MMA fighter, and he's like, all right, arrest me, and then like they just end up in this huge fight, and then like he ends up like like he can't beat the guy one-on-one like in a normal fight, so at some point in this, like, he's supposed to be the sheriff, he's like trying to be a pretend sheriff, he's like fucking biting this guy and stabbing him with broken bottles and shit.
We're gonna have to watch that one. Well, let's see. I read a book. This is one of my favorite series, or maybe it is. I don't know. But I read the latest installment of the Expanse trilogy, coming to Sci-Fi this fall.
Failing to Sci-Fi.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I try to be optimistic, but
last time I heard you talk about it, you're like, yeah, they're probably gonna fuck that up.
Yeah, they are. But I'm hoping if they don't, great. But if HBO was doing it, I'd be a lot more like, oh. But Sci-Fi, and yeah, they did have Battlestar.
Yeah, they had that one thing.
One thing they had. So maybe that one success can reproduce itself. But anyway, Nemesis Games, which again. The thing with the Expanse trilogy is, especially after Leviathan wakes, it's like you have to one-up each time. There has to be some horrible, I don't know, what would you call it? Like, is this like Dragon Ball Z, where like every year you have a new character that's even more powerful than the other one? No, it's the same characters, but it's like people are doing insanely murderous things on huge scales. Yeah. But then in the end, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I could see why they do. Like this one, what's scary is, okay, here's like the MacGuffin of the book. The people in the belt. Okay, we know that the proto-molecule has opened the gate to 1,000 universes, and they're settling in Cibola Burn. They went through the gate and they found a planet, and they were trying to help coordinate a peace thing there with the Belt people and the corporate people that both said they own the planet. And in this book, we're dealing with the ramifications of billions of people wanting to get out of the Terran human solar system and go to this other world. It's screwing Mars up because Mars was basically a giant terraforming experiment to turn Mars into Earth. Well, now everyone wants to leave Mars. The Belters are fucked because they grew up outside of gravity and they can't operate in gravity wells. They're not needed because everyone's going to the other universe to build, to build and expand on planetary colonies there. They don't need the Belters to do deep space mining and ship building and all that. So the Belters are looking at becoming like most of the people on Earth, just welfare recipients in space. That's like Earth is going to take over for them. So of course, the OPA, the Outer Planets Alliance, which that represents all the Belt people. Well, a faction or a part of their group or whatever, they coat giant asteroids with anti-radar reflective coating and slam them into Earth, basically condemning half the Earth's population to death. So the Earth is fucked, and the Belt people are they're trying to take over the galaxy take over the solar system because everyone on Mars is fleeing because they have the terraforming experience. They're all fleeing through the proto-molecule gate to stake out their own place in the universe.
Yeah.
So a lot of this book, we follow the adventures. The crew actually splits up for the first time. The captain is with the guy who runs the OPA, and his girlfriend is with the faction group that dropped the bombs on the planet or the rocks on the planet. And then Amos, the technician / engineer, he's on Earth. He was on Earth looking for something when the rocks fell. And then the Indian guy from Mars, he's on Mars, and they all end up meeting up eventually. And they try to, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do because Earth still has this huge destructive space fleet that they can direct outwards. But it almost becomes, it's like, what's the point? We're just going to finish off annihilating each other. And Mars is, of course, they're playing a game because Mars has the best technology and the best ships man to man, but they don't have as many of them. And they're all playing a two-sided game. So there's a lot of political intrigue and stuff here. And the people in the Belt are just crazy because they know they're going to become obsolete very quickly because they can't be on planets because they grew up in null gravity. So, they don't last very long in gravity wells. So they know that they're fucked. So it's like people are doing horrible and crazy shit, but it makes perfect sense why they're doing it. It's just, and then the end of the book, of course, one of the Donegar, the big bad Martian warships, the proto-molecule gate just disintegrates it. Nobody understands why. And it's like, the molecule is asserting itself. And then you hear kind of glimpses around the corner of like strange messages coming back through the gates about the alien life that's being encountered on these other planets. So there's something going on beyond the gate that's being set up for this one. But this one is basically
Space White Walkers.
yeah, kind of. Well, yeah. These books are related in some ways to the Game of Thrones, but we'll see what happens in the next book. But it's kind of weird though. It does sort of tie it up because basically it's like, Earth's ecology has been destroyed. And they say like billions of people are going to die because of this. But, Earth was basically nothing but a giant like welfare city at that point anyway. And, the one lady, I don't know. Have you ever read any of the books?
Just with Leviathan Wakes.
Oh, okay. Well, she wasn't. She was more in the second one, but her name's Christian Avasarala. She's the one who runs. She's like an Indian. She's an Indian, but she's an American or something. But she's the one who runs the United Nations, which runs the planet, and she talks really nasty all the time because they were trying to make some treaty with her, and she's like, well, you can just roll that up and fuck it. I'm not going to do that. And she's like the president of Earth, and but they were kind of lamenting all the deaths on Earth, and she sort of threw in there as a side note. She's like, most of the people, half the people on Earth had a below average IQ anyway. They were never going to do anything. So while this is a tragedy, we can kind of count our losses here with maybe a degree of I forget what they said, but it was sort of like, oh, okay, so we're just going to discount half of Earth. And then that's kind of, then the book ends. It just sort of snaps off.
So is Earth kind of like Britain in a way, where it's like it used to have this great power, but now it's just kind of like there's still influence there, but it's not what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it got rock bombed, and now the ecology is going to fail. So eventually, everyone's going to have to bail off Earth because there's so much shit in the atmosphere. It just gets freezing cold, and then that's not going to come back into balance for a long time. So everything's going to be, I think, in the next book, everything's going to be about the push to the gates. This is kind of like the middle child book in this, even though it is book 5. This is kind of like the middle child book in this.
This is the Wheel of Time middle chapter.
Well, it could be. I don't know. There's 2 writers on it, so even if one dies, I don't know. They come out every year.
Well, I just remember Robert Jordan, that he usually has those books are like there's like span 10 books or whatever.
Yeah. And then he dies before he finishes the trilogy.
Oh, you just had one? I thought you had like multiple like series of books that expanded.
I think he just had the Wheel of Time, but
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, but the Wheel of Times were like, it started off as like a Tolkien-ish adventure. It's like these children from a small village learn about the wider world, and then it became this just bizarre. It's like we're going to chronicle every bowel movement that these people had. And so yeah, that was I don't know how long this is going to go, but each book is good. Like I said, the second one was definitely a letdown from the first, but then it picks right back up again. And this book, though, is definitely, I would consider it the middle child. It's like we're going somewhere else. Like the power structures and the things we've come to accept about the solar system are now getting larger.
This is the Empire Strikes Back.
It's been compared to that, yeah. It's been compared to that.
Even though those books are kind of always grim and hopeless.
Yeah, well, they definitely don't put a value on human life in whole cloth, that's for sure. But yeah, this is definitely we'll see where it's going. I don't know how many more books there are in this series, but I mean, well, the proto-molecule is such an evil thing. Like that from Leviathan Wakes, it's like that thing's bad enough. It should just be thrown into the sun. It's like, no, we're going to try to use this thing. No, never do that. It's
Does Alistair Reynolds, does he have a series, or is he just kind of a bunch of books that exist in the same universe?
He has both. He's most well known for the which one? Let me look it up, because I can't think of the name. But yeah, like the universe that the Prefect and everything is set in, that's all one universe, but with kind of unrelated, or they are related stories.
But yeah, you've told me like some books are like 20,000 years apart, like everyone's dead from the book previous.
Yeah. It's big fiction. Yeah, Revelation Space is that's the Prefect.
Doesn't it have like your favorite ship name, something called Nostalgia for Infinity?
Yeah, the Revelation Space, all my favorite ship names. Yeah, because it starts off with Revelation Space, Chasm City, Redemption Arc, Absolution Gap, and then the Prefect is the prequel. And then there's Poseidon's Children, which I haven't read. That's the Blue Remembered Earth trilogy. That was his most recent. And then they have a lot of. He wrote a steampunk one called Terminal World. He wrote kind of a modern one called Pushing Ice, which was about ice harvesting. And then Century Rain was about time travel. And then he wrote the Doctor Who Harvest of Time book. But that was set in the John Pertwee Doctor Who universe, because he said that was his favorite era of Doctor Who. But that's weird, because it was funny that he did that, because he's known for like hard sci-fi. Like there's no faster than light travel. There's in none of his books. Yeah, that's why the Light Huggers had such weird names, because they were piloted by such strange people. Because they had to basically go to sleep for thousands or hundreds of years.
Generation ships.
Yeah, to transit. Well, that was like one of my what was it? Chasm City is my favorite book of all his, because that was the one about the generation ships. And you know, how the crazy paranoia that develops over generations of people being on a ship and starting to believe paranoid things about the other ships, like they're plotting against us. The reason the Santiago exploded was somebody sabotaged its drives to try to kill us, and it's just because in absence of information, people just make shit up.
Yeah,
and but that was Chasm City's probably his best book. The Prefix pretty close too. I mean, they're all good, but yeah, that was totally unrelated to what I was talking about. But yeah. And then of course there's Diamond Dogs and Turquoise Days. Those are his short stories. But yeah, we could each talk about one. Each one of those could take whole podcasts.
Or our famously Lost podcast where we talk about Altered Carbon. That was Richard K. Morgan.
Yeah, haven't heard much from Richard K. Morgan lately.
Last time I knew, he was like writing stuff for video games.
Yeah, well, he was doing what was he?
He's probably like making.
He's in the Land Fit for Heroes, the medieval thing he was been writing for a while.
Steel Remains and stuff.
Yeah, there was the Steel Remains, the Cold Commands, and I can't remember the other one. That was the one where like it's like the hero, but his whole thing is like he's gay.
Yeah,
which is really it's like interesting, but it's not the most interesting part of the story. But it just keeps coming up. It's like, we get it. He likes it. we understand. It's like, no, this is supposed to be edgy. Yeah, in the 70s it would be. We're living in 2016 now, or 15.
I think he's probably just making a bunch of money doing touch-up work on stuff. Like,
yeah, he is.
What would you do? Because like whenever somebody's like that prolific and then they suddenly disappear, it's like either they have enough money or they make a bunch of money just fixing other people's shit.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to have big ideas anymore. You can just have like, well, I know how I would fix this, and then boom, give me $50 million. And you can keep my name off it and everything.
I still think the movie they need to make with Idris Elba is the 13. The Richard Morgan.
Called something else here?
It's called Black Man everywhere else, but in America it was called 13.
Oh, okay. I thought there was something called like Heaven's Fire or something that he made that was called something. I can't remember. Oh, well.
No, they I don't know if you ever read that novel.
No.
It's a great novel. It's basically they're called variant 13s because they basically took children and genetically engineered them to be like super soldiers, and they're complete sociopaths, or at least they don't have any feeling about murder.
Yeah.
And but they made, I forget what they called them. The crude name for them was twists because their DNA was modified, but they banned all the 13s to Mars. And the one guy, the main character, what's his name? Let me find the book. Where is the book? I don't know. Anyway, the main character is he's black, and but he's brought back to Earth to help him investigate a crime committed by other 13s that are committing crime. Because basically, the 13s are so evil, you don't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
Because they don't think like people. They're not like, oh, it would be terrible. I cannot do this because hundreds of people will die to get me from A to B. 13s don't even. Like, that's the straight line I'm going towards.
A to B. What's with all this screaming?
Yeah, what's everyone so upset about? So they bring and the guy is redeemable. He's not a horrible, hateful person, but he just doesn't have a lot of feelings about things. And it was like, oh, that character is written to be played by Idris Elba. As this guy, because he was British too in the book, because the American 13s were called Lawman, the British 13s were called Osprey, but the Osprey program, they weren't quite as violent and hard to control as the Lawman program. So this guy goes around and hunts down other 13s. That's his job. But I'll tell you, the hitch in the story is when they send a guy back from Mars illegally. And when they send the ships back from Mars, they just freeze everyone. and this guy sneaks onto the ship, and he's in like the storage compartment, and not the main character, but the guy he's hunting. And there's 4 people in cryogenic stasis, and there's no food on the ship. So you can guess how this 13 survives on the way home. Because when the ship lands in the sea, they go inside it, and they're like, why are there these body parts in these freezers? And it's like, oh, he ate the people on the way home. It's like really dark, weird shit. But it's a good story. But anyway, I think that's all I got for this week. I'm feeling kind of tired, and I know you got to go to work tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Anyway, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon. Goodbye, America.